Hi everybody, this is Doug Mumaw, Director of Education and Analysis for MPG, and welcome to our YouTube series as we help you understand EXPO. Let's begin the demo now. So what is EXPO? EXPO is for our all LPAR customers, 4 or more LPARs, but anybody can have it. In fact, we have customers all over that purchase EXPO just for this powerful functionality. So what is it? It allows everybody to see core performance components, CPU, disk, and memory, for 5 data levels: today, yesterday, last week, last month, and a capacity planning view last year. It's the ability to look at all your systems on your enterprise without requiring the client. Now let me say that again. You can have managers, senior VPs, anybody access this important performance data without having Performance Navigator on their PC. So how does EXPO work? It's pretty simple. There's a main data collection script called expo.gps, which can be started manually or it could be automated within your environment. On the initial run, data is collected for 5 measurement levels. That is, we look at today, yesterday, last week, last month, and last year. But the neat thing about EXPO, on subsequent runs, data is only collected for the period that it needs. A control file, our expo.ini file, simply has all the saved timestamps, and that's what controls the data collection process. And the output for EXPO is very simple. It's simply a combination of HTML objects and JPEGs, and we'll show that to you in a bit. Okay, let's talk about the Performance Navigator architecture and EXPO architecture. The first thing I like to show is a series of shortcuts that I've created to make my life easier within Performance Navigator. I'm going to click on the output folder, and in it you'll see a very structured folder system that holds all the Performance Navigator output. Since we're talking about EXPO, let's look at the EPO folder. Upon clicking on the folder, you can see all the HTML objects that were created when EXPO was being processed. Over here, you see all the JPEGs that were created along the way. Next, let's look at the EXPO control file. So the way we get there is we right-click on our folders, get to our shortcut, and in this case I'm going to Performance Navigator 16. This will be the folder of your current release, but we'll click on that folder. In it, we'll look for expo.ini, and there it is. Inside this folder, I want you to notice a couple things. One, it's very detailed. There's a lot of information in this folder. But the most important thing as far as EXPO being processed correctly are these timestamps. You can see here we have the last month run date, last week run date, last year run date, and so forth. This is how EXPO processes the data accordingly. Okay, let's look at the application in regards to EXPO. How do we get there? To view EXPO, we click on View, and then EXPO. Now what's really neat is we've created an EXPO interface, a menu system, that allows you to look at all data levels. For example, if I want to look at last week, which is one of my favorite views, I click on it, and you get the EXPO interface. Now just to explain this to you, all the systems and frames are listed over to the left. You can see we look at 3 metrics: CPU, disk, and memory. And we look at average and peaks and trends for all metrics. This interface is basically the same for every data level except one, and that's today. For today, we don't show trends. But to look at the individual metrics, we just click on the hyperlinks. So let's look at the average CPU for last week. This is a really, really neat view. It's one of my favorites because you get the ebb and flow of the metric for the entire week. As you can see, this is 7 days pinned together. Just a really, really neat view to understand your system at a deeper level. We'll click on the hyperlink to get back. And at this point, we can do anything. We could look at disk, we could look at memory, but I want to see what was happening with my peak CPU. So I simply click on the hyperlink. And what's neat about this is you get the busiest day for the week. Love this view. Now, What will happen is your boss will ask you what happened during this time period. Well, EXPO comes to your rescue with hyperlinks that we can drill down into the jobs for that period. How neat is that? Here you can see the top CPU jobs, the top idle jobs, and the top faulting jobs. Just very, very powerful functionality. And again, we'll click back to the main last week interface. So at this point, we could look at another data level simply by clicking at the hyperlinks above. So at this point, let's look at last month. And we seamlessly went to a last month view. So again, if I wanted to look at CPU, I'd click on the hyperlink. And there we go, the entire month of February. And again, notice the drill down capability where I can look at all the jobs that consume CPU resources for the entire month. Very, very powerful functionality. Okay, so now let's look at trending. So we've looked at other where we can look at normal metrics, but now we want to see a capacity planning view. So here we'll look at where our disk has grown almost 22%. Let's click on it. How neat is that? Not only do we show the 12-month disk growth, but we show the extrapolated view as well. And again, look at this. With one mouse click, we can click on a library analysis report and see why our disk was growing. That's amazing. And here we just show a quick example for those who don't have the client but still need to access the EXPO output. We simply make a shortcut, click on it, and if I pull this over to get it where you can see it, you can see the EXPO main menu. It's that simple. Okay, that's the first EXPO demo. To see part 2, how to configure Setup EXPO, click on the link below.